Okay, peeps, welcome back. So today we're going to be talking about native cryptos and which ones we're bullish on. So with that being said, let's get it. Okay, so I want to give a shout out to Tony P for the super thanks. Thank you for supporting the channel. That's the first thing I'd like to say. The second thing I want to say is excuse me if I am coughing continuously. It's not my intent to do so. I know people have been complaining about it. I am human. You guys got to understand that. I've had some shite I've had to deal with for the last few weeks. Had a back injury while doing physical training and kickboxing. Was sick for 2 weeks and then had a physical altercation at work that was kind of beyond my control. So, hasn't exactly been the greatest month. All right, so with that being said, let's go ahead and take a look at the portfolio so you guys can see what's going on here. So, as of, well, we'll say the last, basically, pretty much since the crypto kind of peaked out in March, you guys can see it's kind of been going down, but mostly sideways, not really much happening. So these are the coins that we actually have. So we have a little USDC, US dollars here, as you guys can see. We haven't done much with that, but in terms of our actual native crypto positions, so we have Filecoin, AIOZ, Render, Dash, Banker Network, Crypto.com, Horizon, Scale, Engine Coin, Zcash, Ethereum, Litecoin. Got rid of Bitcoin, so we don't have that one anymore. Got rid of Graph, don't have that one anymore. So we'll go ahead and get into the content now. So what's going on in crypto right now in the native space, and even in the Grayscale Trust to some extent, at this point, I would refer to as the accumulation phase. Okay. Crypto is pretty boring right now. It's not really doing much. As you guys can see on Bitcoin, not really doing much. Okay. Ethereum had this pump because of spot Ether ETF, but Ethereum more or less sideways, not really doing much. So in the most boring times in crypto, generally speaking, is the best time to accumulate. You guys can do whatever you want to with that. That's entirely up to you. But I'm just telling y'all, like, we are accumulating at this point. We're actually buying Render as of the last few days, specifically Render. I'll get into why that is in a minute. But if the prices start pumping and you guys haven't been buying the dip, that's on you. That's got nothing to do with me or anybody else. I've been telling you guys at this channel for eons that usually the best times to buy are when it's most boring. So, but of course, it's your guys' money. You can do what you want. I'm not going to try to tell you what to do with your own resources. So, I had a couple of requests here. I'll just go over them real quick. So, Axelar, this is one that I had questioned about. It does look like we have an inverse head and shoulders pattern, or not inverse, a head and shoulders pattern after coming off of basically a high here. In terms of where this thing could go, like let's assume maybe this is the low. Again, I don't know if it's going to be the low. Just give a quick snapshot. I'm not going to go too deep into this. So roughly about $9 on the Fibonacci high up there. But again, if this thing does break the head and shoulders pattern, which, as a trader, I've never looked at this chart. Okay. Never, ever looked at this chart. And I can tell you guys right off the bat, that is the first thing I saw when I looked at it. Yeah, it could go pretty low. I'm not saying it's going to go that low, but the head and shoulders pattern is pretty bearish. So it might actually pull all the way back down to this low down here. There's no guarantees. Again, we kind of have a death cross here on the, first two EMAs right there. It would obviously have to snap this low to go lower. If it was me, I would be waiting for a lower price to buy in. So I'd probably start buying in right around the bottom of this green wick here, which in my opinion is probably going to be a pretty good price point. You can see some candles here. So roughly around 60 cents. And then I'd be looking to buy a little bit more at 37 cents, 33 cents, and 31 cents respectively if I was going to buy it. So there was a channel member that actually asked about Ondo, so I'm also going to go over, whoops, that is definitely not what I wanted. I have no idea what that is. So Ondo, the cryptocurrency, this is the one I want to look at here. So we just had a fresh new high. Generally speaking, we don't really like to buy anything crypto related unless it pays a dividend when it's sitting at the highs. Okay, we're very, very skeptical to do that. There's a reason for that, and that is because native crypto, especially, is extremely volatile, and it can go up or down, 30, 40, 50% in a single day. So we would rather reduce risk by buying at lower prices. not when it's at all-time highs. I can tell you all right now, that's exactly what the whales would want you to do. They want you to buy at all-time highs. Do I think this is the top of the move for Ondo? Probably not. The Fibonacci say it could go up to 250 a share as of the recent swing. This is a relatively new project by the look of it, so I mean, it does look very bullish. If I was going to start getting into this one, I'd probably look for somewhere around these candle tops here to start getting in. That's just me. So roughly around $1. That's about a 23% pullback from the current price. Below that, I'd be looking to probably get in maybe at the bottom of these candles, so about 70 cents, and then probably somewhere down here at 60 cents would be my starting points. So with that being said, let's get into the projects that we already have. So Litecoin, it's closer to support than resistance. At this point, I would say, I'd be a little bit more bullish on Litecoin, wanting to get in on this for a potential pump to the upside. If that was our prerogative at the moment, we would definitely be buying this based strictly on the technicals. Okay. So you can see that this was resistance turned into support. That support now sits roughly around $80. And the price is only $4 above that $80. So that's like what, 5% to pull back to that support zone. It's not that much. So 97 to 105 would be the target here. As you guys can see, just to get back to the swing high up here on Litecoin, 35% move. But of course, Litecoin's not going to start ripping unless Bitcoin starts ripping. And Bitcoin actually does kind of look like it wants to get a big breakout here soon. I don't know exactly when. We don't usually look at Bitcoin. This is a separate video for Bitcoin, but as you guys can see, it does look like it's kind of pushing out of this flag here. Pretty much, I would say if we get a candle close above the 71,300, Litecoin's probably going to rip based on that. The technicals of that right there, that's just my opinion. So AIOZ, took a look at this one before we started this video. This does look very bullish. So this could potentially actually be a bull flag pattern or an ascending triangle, which if you guys follow us on X, you would know that the ascending triangle is generally speaking a bullish pattern. So if this was a flag, we'd be looking at a ridiculous price target, and we are very bullish on AIOZ. And as a matter of fact, we have a pretty fat bag of it, roughly about 2K. So it'd be about a $5 price. Am I seeing that right? Yeah. Yeah, okay. So if it is a bull flag, it would be a $5 price target. So about a 6x from the current price. That sounds absolutely ridiculous, but this is crypto. It can happen. And again, I think NVIDIA, when it broke out of this same exact pattern here, I'd have to go back and look, but I think it did like a 60% move to the upside, and SoundHound was a 100% move. So, 2x on a stock, 6x on a crypto, I don't think that's unrealistic. Based on support and resistance, I would say maybe a pullback to like the 57-cent level would be a good potential entry point to at least start DCAing in, even if you're not going to bulk buy, but that's just my opinion, of course. So Algorand, this one is pretty dead. It's not doing much, but as you guys can see, the momentum is kind of fading on the MACD. That's a good sign. In terms of support and resistance, this one's a pretty strong buy in my opinion, because again, it's pretty close to the support. So about 14 to 16. Again, I'm not advising anybody buy this. You can do what you want with your own money. This is not financial advice, okay? But the current price is only a few cents away from support, whereas the resistance is all the way up here. So 28 to 29 cents. You're talking almost a 10-cent difference here, compared to getting back down to the bottom of the support is only 4 cents. So basically, you're looking at potentially maybe a 2-to-1 risk here. It's more bullish than it is bearish on this move. So just to get back up to the high up here is going to be about 70, I'd say about 75% move versus pulling back into support, much, much less, 21%. I'm not going to go over Bcash since we don't actually own any. This looks like a potential head and shoulders pattern here. We'll just have to wait and see if that plays out. Again, we'd be looking at breaking the neckline. Pretty much all I'm going to tell you guys is if I was going to buy this, I'd be looking either for a pullback to these wick lows here, so 350, or maybe down to support at 300. You guys can do what you want to with that. So BNT, this one's actually starting to look quite bullish. Actually okay, I don't know what the heck is going on here. Trying to get this thing out of here. because it looks like we had some kind of pump fake to the downside, and then we went back up. So this is also, again, an ascending triangle, very bullish. It's not a flag pattern, but if I measure it as an ascending triangle, you guys can see that the move is pretty large. So it pretty much basically just skyrocket this thing back up to resistance, which is pretty much 250 to 290. However, if it breaks down from this trend line, it could come down to the support. So that's going to be at the top, roughly about 46 cents, bottom 33 cents. I don't think that's likely because, again, ascending triangles are very high probability setup. But you never know. I mean, just plan accordingly. So maybe potentially look for a pullback into 63 cents. As far as I'm concerned, I think this one could pull back, but it could also go up. So from the current price to this recent swing high, about 30% move. And let's say you want to get in down here to the swing high, you'd be looking at about 65%. Anything below that, I mean, it could go below that. Well, I'm just gonna stick with that price because you have a lot of trading action here where it kind of got held down and now it's getting held up. So I don't think it's likely to go below 65. That's just kind of what it looks like right now. So Crow, this is a very easy kind of setup here. So it's not real complicated. Those of you guys that have been watching the channel for quite some time, you've seen us do these setups over and over again. It just looks like a simple bullish trendline breakout setup. So again, as to where the price will go, honestly, I have no idea. Could go to this top of this resistance at 18 cents, or it could go all the way up here to 37, 38 cents. Anything's possible. We are creating higher highs and higher lows. It's very bullish. We are above this kind of swing high here in the bear trend. As of basically this candle high right here is higher than this one, so that's very bullish. But I would say probably at least the top of this range would be a good target. So pretty much anywhere between 10 to 12 cents is, in my opinion, a good area to pick up. We're not picking that up right now, but if we were going to, we would absolutely pick it up right now. So about 73% move. Dash, yeah, this one is extremely undervalued, in my opinion. And I do mean extremely, extremely undervalued. I'm literally not even lying when I tell you all that. So you guys can see, based on the previous bear market low and the previous bear market before the previous halving, this was back in 2020, Dash bottomed out at $34. Okay, we're actually lower than that right now. So that tells me just how undervalued this project is. I don't remember the exact high that Dash hit in the previous cycle. It was pretty up there. So okay, so the high was roughly about $500. So that's a pretty huge move up. I mean, this thing from the current price, that'd be almost a 20x. Dash is not really a very popular project, but you guys can do what you want with that. We do have some just in case it does pump. So 23 to 26 on support, 35 to about 39 on the resistance area there. Just to get from here, let's say back to the swing high, which is this wick over here, about 50%. If it goes back down to, let's say, $25, which I think would be a good support to the swing high, roughly about 74% move. So still a pretty big return, if I'm being completely honest. Doge, this one does actually look quite bullish. At first I was going to say this looks like a potential head and shoulders pattern forming here, but on second look, it does actually look like a bullish trend breakout. So again, where this thing goes is anybody's guess. If it gets above here and above here, it's going to resistance. I can tell you all that right now. I'm pretty confident of that. So 34 cents would be the top here. Bottom of support is 15 cents. Pick your price point as to where you want to get in. So 107% move here, just from the current price to basically all the way up to the next resistance, and from the bottom to the next resistance, 120%. So Engine, yeah, this one's really been clobbered quite a bit. It actually got clobbered from where we held. I think our average is like 68 cents. So yeah, it's up there. I mean, but then again, Engine's all-time high. You guys can see the all-time high was just ridiculous up here. So even from our current cost basis, it's still a massive swing up. It's like at least an 8x. Well, actually, let me think about that for a sec. So 60 cents. Okay, so maybe like a 6, 7x, but that's still good. I mean, that's pretty hard to come by in stocks. So 50-50. I would be waiting for this one to pull back a little bit more before I got in. I mean, considering that we bought so high up here, it would actually make sense for us to buy even right now to reduce the cost basis. But if I was strictly looking to do a trade, I would be waiting to get in this box somewhere. So it's going to be about 20 to 25 cents, and then resistance 45 to about 60 cents. So from the current price to the swing high up here, 101%. And let's just say maybe from the bottom of these candles here to the swing high, roughly about 156%. And we did have engine on the last cycle, and we did make some decent money on it, just so y'all know. So ETH Classic, this one's popping off on the backing of the spot Ether ETF news. I'm not really surprised, if I'm being completely honest. We've been telling you guys for eons this was likely to happen, so it does look like it potentially might be wanting to break out here. If it does, it's going to head up to somewhere between 41 to 46. That's just my opinion. So I would say a good particular pullback area might be roughly around that $26 level. There's no guarantees, of course. It does not have to go down there. So 74% from that level to the resistance, and from the current level to resistance, roughly about 45%. Not going to do Fetch AI because we don't actually have that one anymore. So Filecoin, we have a massive bag of this. Okay, this is actually our largest native crypto holding, if you guys can believe that. So it does actually kind of look like it has a bear flag here. So again, this is not a guarantee to play out, but if it does, we definitely are going to want to be buying the dip on this. So yeah, if it plays out, it's going to be pretty ugly. It'll go basically back down to this low here at $3. I mean, the technicals say that's what it's going to do. I don't know if it's going to or not. Again, the EMAs are kind of pointing down. That's bearish. But if it does, we can just pick up that many more tokens on the cheap. So if I was doing a trade on this, again, I would not even buy right now. I'd wait for it to get down here. So that's going to be 230 to about 320, and then 850 to 1140 or so. If it doesn't get below $5, I would say likely it's going to go up. But if it does, maybe it comes down to like 320, I would say is probably where it's going to stop. So from the current price to the swing high, again, would still be a pretty nice move, 112%. And let's say it gets down to the top of this range here, 284% move. Gala, this one actually kind of does also look like it has a bear flag. I don't know if this is actually going to play out or not. If it does, probably not going to be that big of a move, or maybe it will be a big move. Again, nobody really ever knows if these things are actually going to play out or not. I mean, it's hard to know exactly what's going to happen. It has a higher probability of selling off, but there's no guarantees. Okay. So roughly about 2 cents would be the target here. Again, from a trade perspective, I would not touch this thing until it got down to support. But the resistance up here is 6 cents to about just under 9 cents. And then you'd be looking at 1.5 pennies to about 2 cents. I don't think it's going to go down to 1.5 pennies. I think it'll probably stop right about here at 2 cents. So from 2 cents to resistance, 331%. And then from the current price to the resistance zone, about 102%. All right, so we're going to take a look at the other ones that we actually own here. So we have Render. This is the one that we're actually picking up right now. And you guys are probably wondering, well, why is that? Well, there's 2 reasons for that. Well, 3 reasons. I take that back. So it has nothing to do with the technicals. Number one, because NVIDIA and Render, if I am not mistaken, I believe they're actually in a partnership. Okay, or a prospective partnership. Number 2, Render is an AI-based token. AI is going to, in my opinion, just my opinion, is going to be huge, absolutely massive this cycle. Okay, and number 3, because we do eventually want to sell this one for profit, get out and reposition into one of our core positions, which as of right now, I'm thinking 3 out of 6 of those are going to be Filecoin, AIOZ, and Horizon. So those are the 3 main reasons. But as you guys can see, we do have a bullish breakout pattern here. So that's also good. Now, in terms of the next potential target here in the immediate short term, I mean, the fibs are saying this thing could go as high as all the way up to $40. So that's a possibility, roughly about a 4x from here. But from a trade perspective, if I was trading this, I would not touch this thing until it got down to somewhere in the support. So about 630 to maybe 750. You guys can do what you want to with that. The high is up here at about $14. As you guys can see, let's just say it stops at the top of the zone, which is a possibility. That move would be about 90%. So SKL, this one's looking very bullish. I'm not really sure why. Again, we know what these projects are, but we don't follow a lot of crypto news. Just specific kinds of news, not everything, not every single project. But the MACD is starting to kind of become less bearish, so that's good. We have this big fat green candle here. It's also a good sign. So it does look bullish. I mean, you could start DCAing at this point if you wanted to, and it looks bullish. That's a possibility. There's also a possibility of a head and shoulders pattern here. Not sure if that's going to play out, but do understand that there is that. That's a risk. So let me redo this. So if it was a head and shoulders pattern, basically the bottom of this zone is going to be the neckline, as you guys can see where the candles are placed. The target would be all the way down here at 3 cents. Again, if I was doing just a strict trade, I would be looking for a golden cross of the EMAs to get in. Pretty much that's what we look for, or maybe a bounce from support to resistance. But in terms of just getting in for like a longer term, maybe just DCA down from a certain point. So maybe like the bottom of this range or something, that's roughly about 7 cents. So the swing high up here is about 13.5 cents, as you guys can see. I'll give you the measurement from the current price to the swing high, which is about 51%. And then from the range to the swing high, as you guys can see, is a much bigger move. So about 98%. Let's see. The next one that we have is Zcash. So again, this one is very heavily undervalued. It's not really a very popular token in crypto, but you guys can see that from the current price to the previous all-time high is a big move. So I don't know exactly how many X's that is. That might be like a 15X or something, but I mean, this thing's just kind of ranging. So generally speaking, when something ranges at a bottom like this is at, that's usually known as accumulation. This thing's probably going to chop sideways, accumulate, and then break out to the upside, likely is what's going to happen. That's usually how it goes. And the inverse happens at the top of a move. It kind of goes to the top, chops sideways, known as distribution, and then sells off. So as of right now, this one is extremely cheap in my opinion. It is looking a little bullish on the weekly, so the current targets would be roughly around 19 to 23, 33 to 35 on the resistance up there. So from the current price to the swing high up here, still a pretty big move, about 35%. Again, the S&P only does 10% a year, so if you get 35% move, I mean, you're beating the S&P on this one move by about 3.5x. From the bottom of the range to the swing high up here, about 88%. So last one I'm going to go over here is Zen, and then we'll talk about the altcoins, or the altcoin market, I should say. So again, this one hasn't really moved. So I know that the MACD here does kind of look a little bearish. It's kind of curling down, as you guys can see. But again, we're at the bottom of a move here. We haven't really had a true alt season yet. These things haven't started ripping yet. You can see the all-time high for Zen is $141, so it's still a 14x from the current price. That alone is enough to tell me that this thing has not had a true bull run yet. But as you guys can see, we're kind of in a bull trend in between this range. So we have higher lows, higher highs, as you guys can see there. In terms of the targets for support, I'd be looking at roughly around 675. And then resistance 1160 to about $13.50. Swing high up here is about 1870, so potentially a huge move up. So 98%, and then say at the bottom of this move to the swing high, 181%. Okay, so that covers the altcoins. Now I want to go over both the Bitcoin dominance and the altcoin market. So Bitcoin dominance. So I want you guys to pay close attention to this. All right, I don't know why these trend lines keep doing this. This is kind of annoying. It seems like they keep wanting to move on their own. But we've been ranging in this Bitcoin dominance for a long time, okay? It started ranging all the way back here in June 2022, which was pretty close to the bottom of Bitcoin's bear market. Didn't really actually get it till roughly in here somewhere. And then Bitcoin dominance went up, dominance went up, then it kind of chopped sideways, went up a little bit, chopped sideways more. This is Bitcoin dominance strength. This move right here, this move shows a slight weakening in the trend. This move right here shows a significant weakening in the trend of Bitcoin dominance. So generally speaking, the faster this thing moves up, the stronger the move. But once it starts to slow down and kind of move sideways, that usually indicates a potential reversal of momentum coming, okay? So you guys can see very, very small moves up and a lot of sideways chop. Do I think that this means that Bitcoin's already had its all-time high? No, I don't. But it doesn't mean that there can't be there can't be actually two Bitcoin all-time highs and two altcoin cycles. Okay, we did see that in the last bull run. So in summer of 2022, after the halving, but before Bitcoin hit its first all-time high, we did have an altcoin season, okay? Kind of like we just had pretty much ending in March, okay? So we had an altcoin season from like November last year to March of this year. That could be considered the first alt season, roughly around the time that Bitcoin was taking off and going to highs, okay? And so that happened in 2020, and then Bitcoin hit new all-time highs in November. Then we had a dump, okay? And then basically, I think Bitcoin and altcoins bottomed out in July, August, something like that. Then we had a second run up on Bitcoin and altcoins, okay? We could be seeing something similar happen right now. Again, I don't suspect the bull run is going to be over until probably, I would say, closer to the end of next year. How close exactly, I don't know. Again, these things are very hard to predict. But as you guys can see, the Bitcoin dominance is having this big red candle here. If we get a break of this trend line and a confirmed close below, there is a likelihood that Bitcoin dominance is going to drop and money is going to flow from Bitcoin into altcoins, okay? As a matter of fact, what we saw over the last, basically between October last year and March, could actually be like a pre-altcoin season, altcoin season. It could be like basically the summer DeFi compared to what we saw after Bitcoin topped out in January. Summer DeFi was a good alt season, but the real true first alt season did not actually begin until basically February of the following year, after the DeFi summer of 2020. As you guys can see here, the Bitcoin dominance sold off like a waterfall, and that's when the altcoins really started ripping to the moon. Okay, so basically anything altcoin related, Grayscale altcoin trusts, probably going to start ripping like an absolute banshee if we see a close and kind of a waterfall move below this trend line here. So that is significant. I want to point that out to you guys because this is a rising wedge. That's a bearish pattern. Okay. Usually a rising wedge drops to the downside when the move is confirmed. Also, this kind of rising broadening wedge, again, a very bearish pattern. So the other thing I want to point out here is the altcoin market cap. Again, we've been making higher highs and higher lows on this, but in terms of the overall market cap, you guys can see from the bear market lows back here, 26 billion at the lows all the way to almost, well, actually to over $1 trillion by the time it hit highs. So the altcoin market cap by itself did like a 40x, not including Bitcoin. But there's something else here that I want to point out that I think is significant. Okay, if we do the Fibonacci retracements, and I usually wouldn't do something like this on like a total market cap, but you guys can see that it gives us a target of almost $4 trillion on the altcoin space. Okay, that means this thing could do another 7x just in the altcoin space. Okay, in terms of total market cap, another 7x before we even get to the first peak for the altcoin season, for the altcoin cycle market cap peak. Okay,